Ladies and gentlemen, federal employees, welcome back. Today we're talking about how you, as a federal employee, can keep your best benefit, your health insurance, into retirement without any issues. I've seen so many people think they can keep it into retirement when they actually aren't eligible. We're talking about all of this today. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Dallin Hawes. Great to meet you. I'm a financial planner who serves federal employees every single day to help you guys get the most out of your benefits and retire confident. So if you are unaware, your health insurance is called FEHB, which I'm sure you know, right? Federal Employee Health Benefits. If you are working for USPS, that is changing to the PSHB, Postal Service Health Benefits. For postal service workers, it's going to be a slightly different program, but very, very similar in a lot of ways. And as far as I know, the rules for keeping health insurance into retirement is going to be the same for USPS federal employees as just other federal employees working for other agencies as well. So long story short, not all federal employees can keep their health insurance into retirement. You have to be eligible, and there's eligibility requirements. And I'm going to start first with traditional FERS employees, and then I'm going to talk about what the rules are for special provision folks. For you special provision folks, you are the law enforcement folks, the firefighter folks, the air traffic controllers, you folks, and the rules are slightly different for you, okay? But I'm going to start with the traditional FERS. So if you're a traditional FERS federal employee, this is what you have to do. First and foremost, number one criteria is you have to be covered under FEHB. You have to be covered under a FEHB plan for the 5 years before you retire. The 5 years before you retire, consecutive years, okay? So let's talk about what that means. So let's say you are single. If you're single, then you have to hold FEHB for the 5 years before you retire. If there's a gap in your service, no problem. Let's say you worked for 20 years, then you took a 5-year gap, and then you came back and worked an extra 3 years and then retired. Well, what about that 5-year gap? Are you going to be okay? And the answer is yes. As long as you're covered for the 5 years that you could be covered, and if you're not employed by the U.S. government, by the federal government, then they don't look at that time, okay? As long as you're covered for the last 3 years and then the 2 years before you left, then you're good. You're good, okay? That's how it would work in that situation. Now, let's say you're a federal employee who's married to a federal employee, and it's very common where only one of the spouses have an FEHB plan under that they actually carry, and the other spouse is tucked up under their plan. What happens then? And the good news is, as long as you're covered under a FEHB plan, doesn't matter if you carry it or your spouse carries it for the 5 years before you retire, then you're good. Then you're good, okay? Now, one more exception. You got to love the exceptions. If you have TRICARE, carrying TRICARE for the 5 years before retirement can qualify and be an exception to having FEHB for those 5 years. As long as you have FEHB when you retire, then you could keep FEHB in retirement. If you had TRICARE, so let's do an example. Let's say you've had TRICARE for the last 10 years as a federal employee, and the last open season before you retire, you jump on FEHB, then you technically can keep your FEHB in retirement as long as you had the TRICARE to cover the other, let's say, 4 years, okay? TRICARE is an exception to the rule. Now, having FEHB or PSHB for your USPS folks for the 5 years before you retire, that's a huge criteria, but that's not the only thing you have to be able to keep your health insurance into retirement. The next thing you have to have is you have to retire with what they call an immediate retirement. And to qualify for that, you have to hit a combination of years of service and an age requirement, okay? For you traditional FERS, the rules are you have to hit one of these next three things, okay? Number one, hit your minimum retirement age, which is for most of you going to be 57, maybe 56 in some months if you're retiring soon, okay? Right around 56, 57. You have to hit that age. If you don't know your MRA, just Google MRA chart. You'll find it. It's based on your birthday. You have to hit that with at least 30 years of service. If you're not eligible for that, no problem. At age 60, all the years of service you need is 20. So at age 60, 20 years of service. At age 62, all you need is 5 years. So again, you got to be covered under FEHB for the 5 years before you retire and be eligible for an immediate retirement, which is MRA and 30 years, or age 60 and 20 years, or age 62 and 5 years. If you hit one of those and you be covered under FEHB for the last 5, then boom, you're eligible to retire. You're good to go. Now, there is one exception to this. The one type of retirement where you can keep FEHB into retirement, even if you're not eligible for the other types of retirement I already talked about, is the MRA plus 10 retirement. For that type of retirement, it does qualify for an immediate retirement. There's downsides to that retirement, which you could check out my videos on MRA plus 10 retirement. But there's downsides to it, but you can keep your health insurance. You can keep your health insurance. And to hit the MRA plus 10 retirement rules, all you need is to hit your MRA again, which is 56, 57 right in there, and have only 10 years of service. That's all you need. Now, you get reductions to your pension. There's other downsides, which you could check out my videos on MRA plus 10, but you can keep your health insurance, okay? Now, what other types of retirement are there, and are those eligible? So you might have heard of a deferred retirement before. If you take a deferred retirement, you are not eligible for your health insurance to keep that into retirement. Even if you start your pension later, you are not eligible to keep your health insurance later. Now, there's a different type of retirement that's called postponed retirement. If you're getting confused on deferred versus postponed, I've got a video and an article just on that. You can go check on my website that talks about all of that. But with a postponed retirement, once your pension kicks in later, you actually can restart your health insurance. You just won't have the health insurance during the gap, okay, when your pension's not going, okay? So if you are taking a postponed retirement, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you're taking a deferred retirement, you'll know what I'm talking about. But go check out my videos and articles on those topics if you want more information on those, okay? So those are the rules for the traditional FERS employee. You got to be eligible for what I call an immediate retirement and be covered under FEHB for the 5 years before you retire. Now, what are the rules for you special provisions folks? You know you can retire earlier than, let's say, your MRA. You know that for you, all you need is 20 years at age 50, and you can retire with an immediate retirement, right? And if you have 25 years of service, you can retire at any age. As long as you hit one of those criteria and you've been covered under FEHB for the 5 years before, boom, you're good to go, okay? Those are the rules for you special provision folks. And again, those are the rules in general to keep your health insurance into retirement. Now, the one thing I would add to this is USPS federal employees have one nuance. With the new PSHB program that's going into place, many of you are going to be forced into Medicare. Well, not forced, but if you want to keep your health insurance into retirement, once you turn 65 in retirement, you're going to have to be on Medicare as well to be able to keep your federal health insurance as well. You're going to have Medicare and your PSHB, which is the new FEHB for USPS federal employees. You're going to have Medicare as well. That's a requirement to keep your PSHB. Now, but that is only applicable to those that are younger than 64 as of January 1st, 2025. Okay, that's the rule. That's the cutoff. If you're younger than age 64 as of January 1st, 2025, then you are going to be required to be on Medicare in retirement once you turn 65 plus. So I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions about FEHB or any other topics when it comes to your federal benefits, there's a link below in the description, plus tons of other resources, most of which are free, completely free for you as a federal employee. Go check out the description. There's a bunch of things for you. I hope that's helpful. Have an incredible rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time.